What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to Going for Two. I am Q1 Humphreys, and there is a lot that I am going to try and unpack here tonight regarding the Game 5 or Game 6, I'm sorry, of the Eastern Conference semifinals between the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics. There's a lot to unpack, and I'm going to try to get through it in a timely manner for you all. I was born 22 years ago. I've been on this earth for 22 years, and over my 22 years of living, the New York Knicks have not been the greatest franchise. Um, from my personal recollection and my memory, I don't remember them being real contenders ever through my 22 years until tonight, or until maybe a couple of days ago when they took a commanding series lead in this series against the Boston Celtics. Tonight they clinched a trip to the conference finals for the first time since 2000. Think about it. 25 years ago was the last time the New York Knicks made the conference finals. And it didn't come because of a bona fide superstar deciding to go to the big city, the big lights of New York. It came from just the front office making great decision after great decision after great decision, building this team up really from the ground up. The rebuild to me started back when they made the trade to bring, or they signed Julius Randle. And a Julius Randle or RJ Barrett led New York Knicks team made the playoffs when Leon Rose took over. And they made the playoffs and lost to my Atlanta Hawks in the first round of the playoffs. Then they just kept building off that. A couple years ago, they go and get Jalen Brunson off of a really cheap. They got him for a steal, and he becomes a bona fide superstar. And the last 2 years, we watch his brilliance in the Knicks uniform. We see them make move after move, bringing in Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, even though he's no longer there. And we see them just last year. We see them get one game from making the Eastern Conference Finals, and they lose in the Game 7 at home. And they pull the trigger again and make a trade for Karl-Anthony Towns. And it works out better than I believe or maybe just as much as they expected it to, because they built this team to beat the Celtics, and that's exactly what they did. Not to mention they make a trade for OG Anunoby and Bogdanovich too, but Bogdanovich ended up getting traded for Mikal Bridges this summer. So yeah, those two moves, bringing in those two guys, OG and Mikal, and everything just working together for this moment tonight, for them to make the conference finals for the first time in 2.5 decades. It's actually surreal. I'm not a Knicks fan by any means, but I know plenty of Knicks fans, and I know they are absolutely ecstatic to just make the conference finals, because this team has been the laughing stock of the league for years, and now they have a legit chance to make the NBA finals. Game 6, they defeated the Boston Celtics without Jason Tatum, 119-81. It wasn't too much of a game. It was competitive for the first 8 or 9 minutes, but then once the Knicks went on their run, that was just pretty much it for them. Um, yeah, nothing. I don't have really too much to say on this game, but over the course of this series, we saw how big those additions were. Mikal Bridges, who struggled for the most part offensively this season, except for the spurt when Brunson wasn't playing and Brunson was out with the injury, came up big time after time and time and time after time in this series. The big stop in game 1, the fourth quarter takeover, and the big stop in game 2. OG Anunoby had himself a big time game 1, had him big games all series long. Karl-Anthony Towns was really just dominant for the majority of this series as well. We know about Jalen Brunson. We know how he gets. So I remember watching the opening night between the Celtics and the Knicks, and I remember saying, it doesn't look like they have enough. But to watch it come full circle, and they, get to the conference finals, beating the team they lost to in opening night, is just, you can't write it better than this. You know, um, now they face off against the Indiana Pacers, a team that they lost to last year in 7 games. A team that, there is a rivalry, going back to Reggie Miller and Patrick Ewing days. You know what I'm saying? So it's gonna be great to see this rivalry rekindled again in 2025, bro. You know what I'm saying? So that's just, and I think they actually battled back in, like, was it 1995? It might have been 95 where they first played in the Eastern Conference Finals. I think when Patrick Ewing missed that layup. I'm not sure, but you get what I'm saying. Um, shout out to the Knicks. Shout out to the Knicks, man. Going to the conference finals. This is a real thing, and this is just a testament to the work that front office has done over the last, I want to say, 4, 5, 6 years since they really took over. But on the flip side of things, we gotta talk about the Boston Celtics. Um, I think the Celtics and their demise this season is just a testament to the parity in this league. The Celtics make the 6th straight NBA champion that did not make the conference finals the year after they won. The last champion to make the conference finals was the Steph and KD and Clay and Dre Warriors. And since then, with the new CBA and different stuff like that, the league has maybe the most parity it's had ever. There's so much talent spread out around the NBA that championship windows are not as wide as they once were. You know, Continuing on the Boston Celtics put together a team that was supposed to win for years. They dominated the playoffs last year. Looked like they were, for the most part, going to do it again this season, and the Knicks just came out and just beat them. And then with Tatum going out with the Achilles, you have to ask the question: is this it for the core? You know, is this it for Jason Tatum and Jalen Brown as the duo? Horford is definitely retiring. He was mulling coming back this season, but now he's probably gone. You're probably going to see Porzingis on the way out as well, and I think there's also a question about Jrue Holiday. Is Jrue Holiday going to be in the Celtics uniform next season? But to me, the biggest thing for the Celtics is Jalen Brown. Y'all, this guy is making $50 million a year on a super duper max, you know? And to me, this was another game, another instance where he's had the opportunity to be the clear-cut number 1 option, and it didn't work out the way they wanted to work out. He had 20 points today, got fouled out. I mean, it would have been tough to win this game with Tatum in the Garden, but still, I thought this was a game where he had to assert himself as, okay, I'm the man right now, and I'm going to show y'all why I can be the man. It takes me back to 2023 Eastern Conference Finals Game 7 against the Miami Heat. The Celtics were trying to pull off the first ever 3-0 comeback, and Jason Tatum rolled his ankle in the first quarter. And everyone looked at JB like, okay, this is your time. Show us you're the one. And he just could not do it. So I think next season is going to be a big telltale in what Jalen Brown's future is in the Celtics uniform. There is a world where Jason Tatum comes back this season after next, and his running mate's not there anymore. And I think that's a legit thing we have to, I would say, take a look at. Because with the money and with everything that's going on, I can't sit here and say the Celtics are going to be this good next year. No, I won't say it. I don't think they're going to be the first seed next year, by no means. They're missing a top 5, top 6 player in the NBA, so this is just another instance of championship windows are not as big as they were. The Denver Nuggets, last season around this time, they were going into a Game 7 at home, and we thought they were going to win the game. And for half of the game, they looked like they were winning it. And then the second half of the Game 7 against Minnesota happens, and now we're here now to where you're kind of like, they're not really championship contenders like that anymore, so just absolutely insane. Next thing I want to get into is predictions for the Eastern Conference Finals. Now I'm going to drop a video more in depth with a more in-depth breakdown of why I think the series is going to go the way I think it's going to go, but just for the sake of the video, for the sake of the Knicks making the conference finals. I'm going to speak on it just a little bit. I'm going to go with the Knicks. I think the Knicks have been battle tested. You know, they had a tough series against the Detroit Pistons. And then they come out and take out the defending champs. And I think defensively they're going to put a lot more pressure on the Pacers than what the Pacers have seen so far in these playoffs. And at the end of the day, I'm going with the best player on the floor, and that's Jalen Brunson. I said it at the start of the playoffs. Jalen Brunson is one of the best, if not the best playoff performer in the game today. And I think he's going to rise to the occasion and take his team to the NBA Finals. But that's all I got for y'all, man. Make sure y'all like, comment, subscribe, share with y'all folks. Knicks fans, let me know how y'all feeling in the comment section. Until next time, we out of here.